Welcome back to Veterans Forum, a program by veterans, about veterans, for veterans and their families. I'm your co-host, Bob West, with Ray Chattery and Jerry Devlin. Our goal is to provide you with important information on legislation, benefits, support, and activities for you and your family by interviewing leaders in our community. Jerry, who do we have with us today?
We're very honored to have tonight, I think, the highest ranking member of the veterans community that we've ever had on this show. Gary Fry is the national commander of the Amvets. And the Amvets, while it is not the largest of national veterans organizations, it's very broad in its membership and its scope and does wonderful things. The Amvets is a product of World War II. It was founded in 1943, and it primarily was, like many veterans organizations, it reflected in these early days the views pretty much of World War II veterans. This has always been the way. You know, the first great veterans organization in America was the Grand Army of the Republic, founded after the Civil War by General John Logan. Then you had the United Spanish War veterans, you had the American Legion. And the Amvets brought the perspective of new veterans. And it is very broad in its eligibility. In the 98th Congress, President Reagan signed a bill allowing an amendment to the Amvets National Charter, allowing people to belong to the Amvets who served after the end of the Vietnam War. So now, as a practical matter, anyone who served in the armed forces from 1940 to today is eligible to be in the Amvets, and most of us, I guess all of us, are members of. I know I'm a life member, and I believe Ray is, and Bob. And today we have the national commander, Gary Fry, and who comes from Sugar Grove, Pennsylvania. And Gary started out in the Amvets, worked his way up through the chairs, started out in chapter number 50 in Sugar Grove, and went all the way up to the national commandership of the Amvets, which we're very proud of. Its national headquarters is here in Lanham in Prince George's County, which is also unique. So it is a great honor, Bob and Ray, to present to you Gary L. Fry, the national commander of the American Vets, which everybody calls Amvets.
Welcome, Commander Fry.
Thank you.
It is certainly an honor. It is our first national commander of a service organization that we've had here. And of course, it's a special welcome because he's from Pennsylvania. So that's always important for all of us.
It's a handicap that one can overcome.
So Gary, tell us about Amvets today.
Amvets today. Well, the first thing is, as was mentioned with our membership, we're the only organization that takes in active military and Guard and Reserve. Some of the other VSOs are starting to branch into that and get into it, but that's been ours for a long time, and that's where we're unique. You can be overseas in Afghanistan, and while I was on a tour over there, I actually gave away some memberships to people who were currently serving their country over there. That's one thing that's different. Some of the things we're doing today is some legislative issues we're working on. We have our own one little program we're promoting right now, and we think it is a good time to challenge for the affirmative action for veterans. They're one of the largest minorities in the country, and we want to bring that to the attention and have them get some benefits that normally they wouldn't have under the current circumstances.
Tell us a little bit more about the affirmative action program for veterans. That seems to be something of real interest to our veterans because there is a lot of pressure because of financing of the VA and other programs that are needed by veterans.
Mm-hmm. What we're doing right now is we're testing the waters. Our legislative people have been downtown, as well as our executive director, and we're testing things to see how it's being accepted. Right now it's kind of in the middle, as anytime you go with some new things down into the hill down there, everybody, they're kind of standoffish at first till they see the product that you want to put out. So some people think it's a great idea, and other ones they're still feeling it out and seeing how we're doing. It's kind of at its infancy, but we really believe in it. We just think that that's a good a good stance right now, and hopefully things will continue on. This will probably go past my term and on into the person that succeeds me's term.
Approximately how many veterans do you have?
We've got about 192,000 in ballpark, give or take, right now. Our membership is actually up from what it has been the past few years. We've tried some unique approaches to gaining membership. We have a new membership director in Mr. Harry Neal, and he's come on board just full of ideas. And some of the things that he's come up with has actually helped us gain in our membership.
And I often see Amvets trucks going around picking up items from people as far as donations are concerned. Is that one of your biggest fundraisers?
I wouldn't say it's one of our biggest, but it's one we have nationally. Some instances they're run by the department, the state of Amvets, state of Indiana. They have some things that they do on their own. Nationally, we have a bunch of thrift stores that our service foundation runs. And we just dedicated a new one out on Long Island here a few weeks ago. And that's where a lot of this clothing goes, you know, and it gets checked out and goes through the usual process.
Well, that's pretty good. So
Yeah,
Ray,
that's the one.
Right.
The one thing. I guess everybody has their own little stereotype, and we're the clothing people. You know, we're the pickup, the furniture people for some reason. But you know, we're for full service like everybody else. I mean, you know, we have our service officers, and we do everything all the other veterans organizations do. But that's just part of it.
We have a couple thrift stores here in Maryland. I know there's one in Laurel. And didn't you just have an opening down in Waldorf area?
Yeah, we
Grand
did,
opening?
Ray. Yep.
Because I heard that when we were at the Turf Valley the other day with the awards program, the Leo Anderson Award. And as I say, there again, in fact, believe it or not, last night I was called for Amvets pickup, and at this time we just didn't have anything. But we gifted the veterans, specifically Amvets and a couple of the others that come through. And we support the veterans groups, and I know that they really help a lot here in Maryland, and the big thrift store there in Maryland. Maybe we can put the phone number up if people would see the program. I'd like to donate.
That's good. And another thing we do is across the country, we employ about 300 people in our thrift store, so we provide a lot of jobs for people too.
Well, that's always important too.
Yeah.
Now,
yes, it is.
Jerry, of course, you were a state DAV commander, and I'm sure that you worked with the other commanders of the other service
Marine Corps
organizations.
League Commandant.
And
Yeah.
so, how was your interaction with the
Well,
Amvets?
we interact a lot with them. For example, the Amvets are always represented on veterans legislation in Annapolis, and we have some very good people here. And I serve on the Prince George's Veterans Committee with Andy Martell, who's one of the truly hardest working and most dedicated veteran members of the veterans community. So we do have very close, and generally here in Bowie, the veterans organizations work very, very closely, if for no other reason than we're almost all members of everything we're eligible for anyway, you know. And, but the Amvets played a very big role early in World War II. I think the finest legislative enactment in the history of the United States was the 1944 Veterans Readjustment Act, the GI Bill, which is primarily an American Legion function, but not all the veterans organizations did support it, and the Amvets did. They were brand spanking new, and they had two, what do you call your groups, chapters or detachments?
Departments.
No.
Posts.
Post. Yeah. Like
At the state level, it's
see,
a
we always get
department.
confused. I forget which group I'm at. The Marine Corps League has detachments, and the DAV has chapters, and the American Legion has posts. But I think the first two chapters, the first two posts, were here in the Washington area. I think one was at George Washington University, if I'm not correct.
Oh, could have been.
And they were here in this area. They really are. They really have deep roots in this community. Again, as I said earlier, the national headquarters is in Lanham, so we're very, very proud to have the Amvets presence as noticeable as it is.
And Andy Martell, the executive director, and I think he's past department commander of Amvets, was one of our guests recently. And also of significance is Fred Shinber, who is the chairman of the Maryland Veterans Commission is a big Amvets member from up in the Hagerstown area.
Yes,
So
he is, and I know Fred well.
Yeah,
Good man, very good man.
So as I say, it's they're very active and in very big areas of responsibility, which is really good. Fred was a member of our show also about a year or so ago.
And
So,
Fred was named Veteran of the Year by the Joint Veterans Committee, and he was, of course, chairman of the Joint Veterans Committee.
Right.
We're very proud to call him an Amvet because
Yes.
he certainly is a good man, and all organizations need a whole busload of people like Fred Dandy.
Right.
Even if we had 2 or 3, you know.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Really, you know, it's just
Actually.
remarkable.
With the other national commanders of service organizations, are there some joint initiatives that all the service organizations are trying to push as far as legislation is concerned?
Oh, yes, by all means. Yeah.
Is there some
Just the standard things that we constantly have to harp on. We lobby in the Legion and the VFW, DAV, and all the other organizations. And we're down there all the time making sure about the benefits. You have to stay on top of that. Right now, things can change or go one way real quick. So you constantly have to be there. You constantly have to be making phone calls, doing your visits. We do an awful lot of visits, as do the others, right down to the Hill, testifying before different veterans committees and that, being in contact with Secretary Shinseki's staff on certain issues, and in the meantime still doing our day-to-day work of taking care of the veterans benefits with our service officers and things like that.
When you get down to the Hill, how is the reception down there? Are you warmly received, or are they trying to hide from you, or how is
No,
that done?
I think, and every time I've been down there, I think it's been good. It's been very good. I'm sure there might be a bad hair day by somebody, and you might take things the wrong way, but overall, I'd have to say it's outstanding. And they do their homework. They know who we are and what we do, and all about us and our background on it within veterans organization and community. And yes, sir, we're all there the same thing.
Well, we're going to have your telephone number at the end with the credits at the end of the show. But what other things can you inform our listeners of as far as the Amvets are concerned? Because some of them may not be familiar with it. They may be familiar with the American Legion or the VFW, but not necessarily as much with the Amvets.
Okay.
As far as the benefits of being a member,
right?
Costs and that sort of thing.
Cost-wise, that varies from state to state, post to post, and
oh, okay.
You know, we don't have a locked-in. I know when I joined the DAV, they have it's a life membership, and that's what you purchase.
Right.
And everyone has their own little things. One of the things we're very, very proud of is our national service officers. They help people with their claims and all that, and we just had a one-week seminar last week down in Daytona, and for the 4th year running, the VA anointed us the top ones, the top group of service officers, and so we take that to heart, because that says our people are knowledgeable, they're helping everybody with their claims, they're getting everything addressed, and it's one of those little things that you can kind of go out and honk your horn about a little bit, but there's no shame in it. If you got it, you can brag a little bit.
Well, that's true, and that is one of the important benefits of the service organizations is the service officers. And if you have ones that are knowledgeable and help the veteran get through the VA process, which is very time-consuming and daunting for most people, it's a very big help.
We're not going to start talking about backlogs, are we? Because when I grip my teeth, you won't be able to understand me speaking. As with everybody else.
Now, I know the DAV has a paid service officer staff. Does the Amvets have the paid service officer staff?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Clear across the country, and then in certain states, I'll use my own for example because I know it. We have 3 state-level officers that are paid by the Department of Pennsylvania. And then we have 2 national officers, one in Philadelphia and one in Pittsburgh. But the qualifications are the same. They have to meet the same standards, pass the same test, and meet all the qualifications as the national officers. And I know in Ohio and Michigan they have them, and there's some other states that I can't recall right now. But yeah, we wish we could have another 50. It's just a matter of it. Everything costs money.
You mentioned about the Capitol Hill. I think we're always treated well, but one of the things that the problems both at the congressional and the state level is that I worked in Capitol Hill for a long time, and I was in the legislature for a long time. In that era, everybody was a veteran, or you had some serious explaining to do. And now, of course, when I was representing this district, we had 3 in the House and a state senator. All 4 were veterans. Now 2 are veterans, so, and that's unusual. That's a high number. So there's an education factor, and you're asking about treated well. I think going down the Capitol, I'm on the National Legislative Committee for the Marine Corps League. We're treated well. Also, we're treated very well at Annapolis. They treat us very well. They're polite. They're genial, but they just don't pass our bills. And one of the problems, one of the local, and the Amvets are involved in this a lot too. One of our local leaders said that in his veterans organization, in the last election, about 20% of the people voted. And that's the key, that the representatives in Congress and the state legislators know that, that we're veterans, and they treat us with the respect I think we deserve. But we have not identified ourselves as a major voting bloc, and that's the way to get your way legislatively. I mean, that's the way, like the GI Bill in 1944, or even after the Civil War. There were 2 million members of the Grand Army of the Republic. So for a whole generation, all American presidents were GAR men, and Congress did backflips passing benefits for the Civil War veterans. And this didn't happen in World War, much after World War I, but after World War II, where everybody was a veteran and everybody was a voter, Congress did some remarkably good things for veterans. And that's what we'd like to do again. So if you're out there and you're a veteran and you're not registered to vote, shame on you. And if you're registered to vote and you don't vote, double shame on you.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And I hear this a lot of places we go. They'll tell these stories of so-and-so and so-and-so sitting around complaining about this and that, and they don't vote because it's a waste of time or whatever their silly, piddly little excuse is. And you're right. There's no excuse for not voting.
Now, I know the state commander, the national commander of the VFW and the national commander of the DAV goes before the Senate Armed Forces and the Joint Armed Forces. They give you that opportunity?
Yes, I did that about a month ago.
Okay, you too. Oh, that's good.
Yes, sir. And afterwards, we had a very nice question and answer period where we could get a little more down to earth and say things that were particularly bothering us after you read the scripted thing, because they only give you 5 minutes.
Right.
And Mr. Miller stayed there for a long time and listened to us, and that was great.
Can you give us an idea of some of the ideas that came up from the discussion?
We spoke about affirmative action. There was, I think, 6 of us at that one. Some of the benefits thing, of course, always comes up. Taking care of the budgets and best utilizing the money in the VA healthcare system, things like that. Things are pretty much the same across the board, other than we really pushed a little more on our major topic that we're promoting.
You said that your membership is growing.
Yes.
What are you doing to attract new members?
Well, we're going after the younger veterans that are in and serving right now. And we're selling the fact that when they get out of the service or come back from their deployment, should they need any benefits, we like to tell them that we have some very well-heralded service officers that can help them. We can help them with other benefits and let them know that we're here for them. And that's our main goal and objective, is to be here for these people that are serving or have served. And we find that a lot of young people, when they're getting out, they're all excited. They get some information when they're getting out and told a few things, but in human nature, a lot of it's not absorbed because they want to go home and see their wife and children or mom and dad or whatever the case may be. And it's like they need to get the second one after they're home a little bit and get calmed down.
Mm-hmm. one thing I've noticed, Bob, is we have the American Legion, the DAV, Marine Corps League, and VFW, which are very big here in Bowie area. But there's no Vietnam Veterans of America post in Bowie, and there's no Amvets post in Bowie. And Prince George's County, we have 80,000 veterans. And Bowie is the largest city in Prince George's County. Yet, I think that something should be done about maybe getting an Amvets post in this area, because almost everybody, all the other organizations, probably everybody's eligible to be a member.
Well, I could answer that by stating that over at the VFW on Good Luck Road, we have an Amvets post in there, and they're growing and getting going, and that's the start for them. And the VFW there has been kind enough to help them out and give them a place to meet and get going. And the department commander for the Maryland Amvets is from that post.
We have here in Bowie, we have the only DAV chapter home in the state, and Ray is, of course, the commander. And I think you can count on anything that we can help the Amvets and other organizations meet there regularly. So you know, we're at your disposal. We care about the Amvets.
I'm familiar with your post, and I know what you do. You have an awful lot of organizations that meet there, and you help them out by providing the facilities and stuff like that. And I think that's great. The work together thing is very important. You got to take off the hat once in a while and not worry about what color it is or what it says on that hat, and go for the mission, which is taking care of America's veterans and those now serving. I know I went on a tour with commander of the American Legion, national commander, and the commander of the VFW, and the commander of MOA. And we all got along fine, and that's a good exchange. You know, there was never any issues about who's this, that, or the other thing. That all gets it. I find at the lowest level is where the push and shove goes on. The leadership of the organizations, they want to work together, and they want to be there for the same objectives, and they know that there's strength in numbers, like you were talking about the voting people. There's strength in those numbers, and the American veteran exceeds 20 million, if I believe, in this country. I think it's like 23 million, actually. So there's a lot of voting power there.
Oh, yes.
Well, we had an unusual circumstance here in the Bowie area, that we had a woman who was, of course, she's not a veteran, but the whole family are, and some of them very distinguished. She went and sought out the leadership of the veterans community and was extremely well received, and got a huge vote, was elected, and then went down to Annapolis in her first term, became one of the people to go to for veterans causes. And this year she was co-sponsor, but she did most of the work. One of the few legislative victories that we had in Annapolis was establishing a study group to set up a special veterans court to deal in the criminal courts and the courts of Maryland with special problems that veterans have. We have some of these other special courts, and the bill passed both houses and is waiting Governor O'Malley's signature. And that's what veterans can do when they, you know, get off their duff down at the end of the American Legion bar and actually participate. And you do find people like that. And we've had many others that around the state that have done the same thing. That some are veterans and some are, you know, members of veterans' families, but who do care about us and are willing to do something about it. Unfortunately, there aren't enough of them, but you start big, you know, one step at a time. And
that started out just as we think we might be able to do a study or something, and in 2 short years, I mean, it really moved along. I'm
a very big advocate of Veterans Court for a story a lot longer than we can talk about on this show, but I've become a big fan of it, and back home it's going. It started not too far from where I live, up in Buffalo, New York.
Erie County.
Yes, Judge Russell, right?
I think that's right.
It's going. There's a lot of it throughout Pennsylvania, and I see news articles once in a while now where it's taken a little seed and crossing the country now, and that's a good thing.
You know, no matter how hard we work within or among our organizations, it really takes membership. And we're all trying to get out there and shake the trees to get people not only to become a member, but becoming an active member. And that's important not only for our organizations, but for the individuals themselves and their families. and we're trying to get that message out too. And I'm sure the Amvets is doing their best in this area.
Oh yeah, every opportunity that we have, we try and promote that.
About 4 or 5 years ago, we were meeting at Baltimore, the Joint Veterans Committee of Maryland, and Commander Schimber at that time got up and said, I'm at 98%, and I'm really shooting for 100%. So I stood up and said, I challenge everybody in this room who's not an Amvets member to sign up. He signed up about 20 that night, and I think that put him to the 100% mark. Because, as I say, it's very simple for the American Legion now for the last 20-some years, and for the Amvets. You don't have to have a Purple Heart or have serve in a combat zone or have a disability like some of the other have restrictions. Where the Amvets, a person can become a member as long as they served on active duty and be part of the family.
Right, exactly.
And we have a rule in the bylaw in the Joint Veterans Committee that we can't take a legislative position where everybody is in agreement. But in 10 years, I can't think of a single time when there ever was any difference in the veterans community. When veterans legislation comes up, we stand side by side, all the member organizations.
Right.
And that's important. I mean, we can't spend 100% of our time with each organization, but if we all give a little bit, it helps everybody along the way.
Yeah, and for a multitude of reasons, people find their niche at one organization where they tend to spend a little more time than the other on their projects. That's kind of for some reason. I started getting into some of the Amvets projects when we first started, and I'd been a member of the DAV, the VFW, the American Legion, Veterans of the Vietnam War, Vietnam Veterans of America, and so on.
Well, you know, it's hard to believe, but our 30 minutes are up. I want to thank Commander Fry for being here, and I want to thank you for watching Veterans Forum. Now we ask you to get involved with your local veterans here in Bowie. Come out and visit the American Legion or the DAV. See the veterans and find out what your benefits are. I want to thank our director, Jim Travelin, for being with us tonight, and a special welcome again to our set director, Ellen Rauch, who once again handled the cards with grace and finesse. And thank you all for watching Veterans Forum.